Okay, so we are going to discuss more about Angular framework, okay, how it is designed and in perspective, and what is the advantage of it and over other normal traditional web development, and why is it so popular, all these kind of concepts. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to tell you like Angular framework is a uh, Angular framework is the single page application, or Angular applications are single page applications. When I say single page application, your entire project will be built on only one page. Okay, understood, right? Do you guys have any questions here? So entire project will be built on only one page. That is a single page application concepts. So this is a trending latest one in the industry. There are different other frameworks also which support this kind of architectural framework. All right, single page applications. Okay, so Angular is one of it. What it means to say a single page, so it means you will have in your entire application, right, only one web page that you will be having. Okay, so in your application there is only one web page, so you will not have multiple. But suppose if you say in the old way or traditional way, right, the earlier, so let's say I have an application, let's say something kind of restaurant application. Okay, in the restaurant application I have different pages, right, different tabs. I can say like this is my home page, and this is a tabs, right? We will say I will type it here. Home menu contact, or I can say the blogs or something. Blogs. So these are the kind of different things that you say. You might be having some logo here and right, and then you have the home page here, home here, and the menu page here, and contact and web blogs or something. There are 4 different tabs. So when I want to see, I just click on this one, home, and the home page will be displayed in the old way in the traditional applications. So you will have generally like one home.html, home.html, or you will have the JSP, whatever it is with respect to it, right? I'm just saying this HTML for now, and you will be having a menu dot html, and then you have the contact dot html, and then you have the blogs dot html. So now there are total 4 web pages that you have, and you'll be keeping it in some folder, and then from there you will be on clicking on this one, you'll be rendering it, right? That is how you generally have the old way of developing the web applications. Okay, now Angular is not doing in that way. What Angular is going to do, we will be having only one page. Okay, that is why we call it as a single page applications. So in the Angular, you have something called index.js. For now, I'm saying index.js. It's .html. So you will have this one page now, and in this page, and you will be having different divisions in the same page. Okay, so that is why this is going to be one main page. On top of it, you will be building the different components. Okay, remember that we will be building the components, not like entire one different page itself. We are not creating here. We are creating we are going to have one component. Okay, one page, main component, one page. On top of it, you will build it. I will explain it very clearly in pictorial diagram. But for now, So our traditional applications will have so many web applications or web pages, and for Angular we will be having only one web page. Okay, that is why we will be calling it as a single page web application. That is why we call Angular as a single page web application. So now, as I said, like we will have the single page web application. When you generate your project, right? When we generated our very first project, that my app project here, and you might have seen something in the src folder. So remember that your every code is inside src. Okay, all the code, this is a source code that you write or generate, right, will be inside this one. And there is something about node modules. I will explain all those concepts a little later. Okay, in the src folder, if you go to if you navigate to the bottom here somewhere, right, you will have index.html. So this is a core page, that only one web page that you will be having in your Angular application. So let's say this is my web application, and your question might be how the other pages. In our example, we have the home, menu, contact, blog, right? All this will fit in if we have only one as a index.html, right? Now we will call this as a component, right? We will be dividing this index page, right, one single page, into different components. Okay, that means what I will do, this is my base component. Okay, when I created a project, I will have a base component, one base component. Okay, and I will name it as a this base component app.component. App component, I will say app component. So this app component is a foundation. Okay, when you're building, you're doing something construction, right? You will have the foundation. On top of it, you will design your home, whatever the way that you like. Like that, when you generate your project, Angular project, using the command ng new your new application name, and it will create one default component. Okay, that is called app component. If I go back to here in this one, right, and you might be seeing the app, expand this app, and you have the component app.component. Okay, this is the component. I will discuss more about components in very detail. Okay, this will be one component, and then what we will do on top of an app component, right? So I will have different components. Let's say I have home component, I have menu component, and I have contact us component, and I have blogs component. Again, on top of menu component, I might be having two different menus, menu for a breakfast or veg or non-veg menu. Okay, I will have the different components here. Okay, or different recipes, whatever it is, and on top of that you can have different things. Okay, and the home component, you might be having something. Okay, let's say, and the contact, you will be having some other components if you want needed at all. Okay, so likewise you will have different things here also. So what I need to say, now this is a single page. Now this entire thing is a kind of a single page for you, and there is only one HTML data or index.html. In that, what you will do, you will create a different components, and then you will invoke in it. Okay, it might not be so much clear for now. Going forward, right, I will explain one more time. It will give you more clarity, right? So this index.html, one component, by default you will have one component, that app.component, and this app.component will be, right, this is the app.component. So this app.component will be invoked inside where we have this app.component in our diagram. This is inside HTML, right? Index.html. This is our index.html. HTML. This is index.html, and we are drawing this app.component inside index.html. So if I go back to index.html, it is index.html. So in the index.html, what I am doing it like this. This is the body, right? Whatever you do, we do inside body of the HTML file. So this is the app-root. So I'm just adding only one tag here, which is nothing but a selector of app component. Okay, if I go to app component here, the app component PS file, have the selector app selector. So what I'm doing, I'm just injecting this component app component inside index. Likewise, on top of this app component, right, the app component, I will add multiple components, right, like this. I will add multiple components, home component, menu component, content blocks, or like this. I will add multiple components. That is why you will be having only one HTML, one page. In that, you will have multiple components. There will be one base component by default will be generated. That is a app component. On top of the app component, you will generate different components and embed into, right? You will inject into the app component. Got it? Is that clear? That is why we will be calling this framework as a single page applications. Any questions, any doubts so far? Is that clear for all of you? Is that confusing? Okay. So what I discussed now is single page application. So single page application, Angular is a single page application. That is what we have discussed. So now we will be need to understand more about component. What is a component and how it is defined? Okay, how one component will be added into another component. These are the questions that you should be having in mind. Single page Angular is a single page application, we said, and now we will discuss what is a component. So we will discuss what is component. So this entire applications, right? Angular applications are components based one. Component in general, right? Nothing but a kind of a simple kind of an object that you can see. This is a in Angular. So we have component is combination of three things. Okay, in Angular component combination of three things. One is CSS, okay, and you will be having a JavaScript. We said like any application can be developed using CSS, HTML plus we said JavaScript, right? And in the updated versions, we might be using Bootstrap or some different languages. But now in Angular, we will be using the TypeScript instead of a JavaScript. TypeScript is the advanced way of writing the JavaScript, okay? And the CSS will be using on HTML. So component is a combination of three things, okay? One is a CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. In our applications or in the Angular, you have like combination of CSS, or you can also say styling plus HTML for display or user interface purpose, and TypeScript we will be using .ts files. .ts files. So TypeScript is nothing but a JavaScript, the better version of JavaScript, you can say. Okay, that is a scripting language again, and you need to know more about it, JavaScript to write it TypeScript. Okay, so this is more semantic way of writing JavaScript. So CSS, HTML, CSS, HTML, and TypeScript. All these three combination, I could say component. I will say this three as a one component in Angular. Okay, to prove that, I'll go back to our application again. Okay, so in our application, if you expand this app, okay, I said in the image, there will be one default component which will get generated when we create our application, right? This is the app component I said. Okay, now go back to our application. Let's look into the app component. So this is the app. That's a component name. And in the app component, you have three things. One is a CSS styling. For now, there is nothing inside it. And you have the app.html app.component.html. Okay, that is my first Angular app, so and so. And then you have this, you ignore it for now. This is for testing purpose and all. So for now you can ignore. And app.component.ts file. So these three files, to avoid the confusion, I'm deleting it for now. Okay. And these three things are one component, would say. Okay. Okay. App.css file, HTML file, and TS file, TypeScript file. So modules we will discuss later. For now, these are the three files. So we will discuss what is the role of the CSS file. CSS is nothing but a cascading style. CSS is nothing but you write, you do kind of your designing or more attractive way of showing your user interface, right? So that is where you will more styling you will add, okay, by writing the CSS here. So HTML is like nothing but adding your divisions, divs, and rendering the data and displaying on or writing the forms, right? All those nothing but a HTML files that you will be having. And then you have the TS file, TypeScript file. TypeScript file is nothing but this is where you will write logic in terms of all, if and else, right? You will write it here. Getting it now? So these are the three files. Combination of these three files, we will be calling it as a component. So we will be generating n number of components depending upon our application requirements. Okay. But by default, when you generate project, there will be one default component will be generated, that is the app component. So that is why I said like this is a foundation. It's an app component which generate. It's a foundation. It will be like a combination of CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. So let's look into each one of it. This we said like this is the CSS file that you will be having, then some CSS styling. For now, we are not adding anything in the CSS. And HTML, and you will write your form, maybe like a registration form, so and so kind of things. Or you can simply display the data, right, by rendering from the backend. And this is a TS file where you actually write your logic or any kind of programming that you will do. So you cannot do the programming, much programming in HTML. You cannot do any programming in CSS, and only the logic or programs that you implement is inside TS file, TypeScript file. So before you implement or do anything, and this is why this is what it looks like a component is the syntax of the component by. Okay. So this, okay. So this one is at the rate component is the annotation that you have in this component. You have the three things I will tell you about it, and then you have the export class app component. Okay, that's the class that you have in programming languages. Will be having kind of a class, right? The similar kind of it. It is a class where you will write your logics here inside this app component. Here you can write some if and else so and so. Okay, so these are the two things that you will be having. Others are imports. In any Java language, any other language, you will be having imports. To write any code, you need to have some kind of a dependencies, right? Those dependencies will be imported in this one. So this is a very simple thing that you'll be having in the components. First one is a import part. Imports are nothing but let's say I need a core module, right? For Angular core modules to implement or write a basic component. And then you have the annotation, that is the at the rate component. In the at the rate component, observe it, we have three things. One is a selector, another one is a template, another one is a styled URL. So I said there are three things that you will be having in the component, right? If you closely observe, these are the three things that you will have. One is a selector and the template URL and style URL. So at one point we have to combine all these three things, right? These files. This is where we are combining it. Okay, we are combining this HTML and CSS into the Typescript file. Okay, so we are giving the template URL. Template URL is nothing but app.component.html. This is a template that for the component. Okay, and we are giving it as a template URL. Second one, style URL. Style URL is again nothing but app.component.css. This one. All right, clear so far? And there is a selector. Okay, this selector is nothing but whenever I want to add one component into another component, right? Let's say I want to add one component. I want to add this app component inside index.html, right? I need to give some kind of ID or tag name inside this index.html so that it will recognize. So that is why I give something like a app root. Okay, app root is the ID kind of identification for this component, and this identification, using this identification, I will be including this component inside my HTML file. See, this is what exactly we copied from there. Okay, root app hyphen root app hyphen root. Clear? And for suppose if I have another component created, what I will do, I will be that component will also have one ID here, selector. Okay, app dot so and so, let's say home component or home app dot home something, app hyphen home something. That what I will do, I will include that inside this component app dot html here, something like this. Okay, app hyphen home. We will generate later and I will show it, but for now I'm telling we will include this selector. This is the selector for home component. If at all we generate a home component, there will be a selector like this one in the home component, and then we will take that selector and we will include it so that you will be merging your home component inside, just like this. Your home component inside your app component. You are including your home component inside your app component. Is that clear? Getting it right? Is that confusing so much? Okay. One second. Okay. So